went 6 games without a win. Bounced back though on the 27th. I lost track of days. They bounced back on the 27th of December with a win over Queen's Park Rangers, which put that poor run of form to bed finally for them, because it was starting to get a little bit worrisome for Scott Parker down there. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately for them, nobody could really put any pressure on them. Fulham stumbled themselves, West Brom fallen out of contention, Blackburn, the real form team in the division at the moment, and they've moved to 3rd in the division, hot on the heels of Fulham and tonight's opponents, Bournemouth. 45 points, the mark that everyone is chasing at the moment. We have team news for you then for Cardiff. It's difficult to judge, of course, the way things are at the moment. We didn't know who tested positive before the break. We don't know who's carrying injuries across the division. But Cardiff look strong this evening. There are changes to the team from that Birmingham team, but Cardiff do look strong. And there are, as I mentioned, changes. So a back 3 this evening to go alongside Alex Smithies in goals of Mark McGuinness, Aidan Flint and Curtis Nelson. We have Ryan Giles and Perry Ng again in the wing-back positions. Looks like a midfield 3 trying to match up what Bournemouth will offer up against us this evening. So it's going to be Leandro Bacuna, Joe Rolls, who once again wears the captain's armband, and Will Volks. And then an out-and-out orthodox front 2, it seems, of Kiefer Moore and Mark Harris. Whether there will be any rust, we'll wait and see. It's going to be difficult to just pick up where we left off. And of course, where we left off was another real resolute, grinding performance on the road, picking up a point where, I mean, I'll be honest with you, if you listen to my commentary of that game at half-time, or just after half-time even, I was as beleaguered as anyone. Any kind of return on that afternoon looked incredibly unlikely, but you know, I should know by now not to write off this group of players, because it's one thing they do have. It's a lot of heart in abundance in this squad, and they don't know when they're beaten. They don't have it in them to lie down. And games against Birmingham and against, of course, Stoke City in Steve Morrison's first game in charge will attest to that. It is going to be a huge test though this evening. Bournemouth, as I mentioned, at one point they were looking nervously over their shoulder at a surge in Blackburn Rovers, worrying that they might even drop out of the top 2 altogether. As it is, a little stumble from Fulham. No cancellations on the front of Bournemouth, who have played their fixtures the weekend before and on Boxing Day, and it's moved them to the top of the table even. They vaulted Fulham there, so they are in stumbling form themselves with that 1 win in 7, 2 wins in 8, but that bounce back 3 points against Queen's Park Rangers will be of huge use to Scott Parker's men as they look for a return to the Premier League. So that's the Cardiff team. We've got more build-up coming your way live from the Vitality Stadium, where we should be being joined by my colleague John Donovan in a couple of minutes' time. But let's hear from what Steve Morrison had to say, especially given the long break in between fixtures.
No, it hasn't been positive at all. It's been like a mid-season break, enforced, and effectively, the lads have had 10 to 12 days completely off their feet. He said the amount of players we had infected, they weren't even allowed to leave their house. So they're at a different level of fitness to what they were prior. The lads who didn't get it, obviously they could do a bit more, and we were monitoring, and we was making sure they were doing what they needed to do. So, but look, that's just the facts of where it is. We can't worry about it. If we start worrying about it, then it becomes a bigger problem than it is. We just need to get on with it, do our job, and we're trying to tick as many boxes as we can yesterday and today, so we can prepare ourselves in the best possible way we can. And then tomorrow we will solely focus on Bournemouth and how we want to beat Bournemouth. The rest takes care of itself. Their fitness levels, if there's any ill effects off of the back of COVID, then that's when we'll find out. The protocols that have been put in place now is that we have to play 3 days after you've come out of isolation, regardless, as long as you have no reaction. So Bournemouth will be our 4th day, so we'll see how we get on. I think we're pretty dangerous to anyone. We just need to make sure we carry out the jobs correctly and to the best of our ability. And we've got some fantastic players who can hurt anyone on their day. And we'll have a plan to beat Bournemouth, and hopefully it works. As I've said many a times, the league don't lie, and they're at the top because they deserve to be at the top. And not overly worried about them. We've just got to worry about ourselves. Yeah, it's for the fans. As I said, they travel really well. They travel in their numbers, and I suppose thankfully they've still got the ability to do that. And it will be, sure, it'll put a smile on everyone's face when we walk out on Thursday evening and we see all our fans sitting there, standing there, clapping. And I said the lads will love it, and I'm sure the fans will. And let's hope we can put on a performance to match it.
Welcome back. Steve Morrison there, talking ahead of this evening's game with Bournemouth. And I'm delighted to say I'm now joined, as you can see, over my right-hand shoulder by a looming John Donovan in position at the Vitality Stadium down on the south coast. John, it's a strange old time again around football. Cardiff have had to wait an awful long time for this game. Bournemouth, I think if you'd have offered them the chance of a break in football at the time that COVID reappeared its ugly head, they'd have taken it. But they've got themselves out of that little funk with the win against Queen's Park Rangers. So it should be an intriguing game this evening.
It should, Ash. Belated happy Christmas to you. God, that was a scary close-up a minute ago. That Christmas food hasn't been kind to me. There's a triple chin coming in now. No, you're absolutely right. It's I watched the Bournemouth game against QPR on, when was it, Monday, losing track of days like you, and they weren't their sort of stylish, swaggering best, but they played with quality, and they deserved to win that game, and they got out that funk, and they won't be suffering from any sort of ring rust, and that's the fear with Cardiff City, that certainly in the first 20-25 minutes we need to be solid. I imagine Bournemouth will start at a tempo, start at a pace, look to move the ball quickly and look to catch us cold. And it's a long time since the 11th of December. So Cardiff just need to perhaps be a little bit more conservative in the first half, perhaps. They're going to concede a lot of the ball. Bournemouth are, probably the best footballing side in the division, up there with Fulham. But I think Bournemouth are a little bit more streetwise as well. I think the 1-0 win that the Bournemouth had against Cardiff City back in September was one of the more lopsided 1-0 wins you're going to see. So it is all to do for Cardiff City. But as you said in your intro a couple of seconds, Ash, particularly under Steve Morrison, who seems to have galvanised both players and fans, never write off Cardiff City, but certainly it's a very, very tough test coming off the back of COVID.
Yeah, no, I think we're all doing the same at the moment. We're all rather reading between the lines a little bit, and if you're doing that and you're in a position, you look at the squad this evening, and seemingly we're fit. It's a fully fit Cardiff squad, or thereabouts, seemingly. So we can attest that the changes are down to tactical, and from that we can perhaps garner that, as you said, a bit of conservatism. It looks like we've gone for 3 in the middle of the park to try and match up Bournemouth, isn't it?
It has, and it looks to me like Steve Morrison's gone with his most athletic 3. Now, rightly or wrongly, we've got midfielders of differing qualities and are very good at certain things they do. Sometimes I think our athleticism or ability to do the running or the hard yards with other teams is a disadvantage on occasion. I think these 3 that he's picked are probably the most athletic, and I think that's to try and get about the park and to close that midfield 3 of Bournemouth down and at least try and gain some sort of parity. So yeah, there was a little bit of surprise when you see Marlon Pack dropping out and maybe Will Vokes coming in and Leandro Bacuna coming in. But looking at it, I think these 3 are the best midfield 3 in terms of covering the ground. And I think, again, that's why Steve Morrison has done that, and he's looking to match up and try, whilst he will be conceding a lot of the ball to Bournemouth, at least make it a little congested in there, a little bit more difficult, make that pressing game a little bit more energized. So, looking at it, I can certainly see why he's gone with the trio of Vokes, Bacuna and Joe Rawls.
Well, as you say, they haven't been this swaggering best recently. They're not the same swaggering side that they were under Eddie Howe. There's a pragmatism and a stoicism, isn't there, and that Scott Parker has deployed in this Bournemouth team, much in the same way as he did during Fulham's last promotion season. I think they're a much more streetwise unit, I think was the word you used. But if you're looking for a blueprint for Cardiff, it's there, isn't it? Because, you know, we were fearful at this fixture, the last iteration of it, and Cardiff came away with a really fine 2-1 away performance.
It was. That was one of the finest. You know, I think we went into the playoffs that night, Ash, didn't we? Unfortunately, we couldn't keep that going when we won here at the Vitality Stadium, or Dean's Court in Old Money back at the end of February. I like what Scott Parker's done. I think Gary Cahill was a very shrewd pickup in terms of experience he can bring to this level. That streetwise that I talked about, I thought him and Lloyd Kelly had a very easy is the wrong word, because you never have an easy afternoon against Kiefer Moore, but they marshaled Kiefer Moore very well back in September. So it's important that Cardiff get greater support in and around Kiefer Moore, and I think Mark Harris is crucial for that. But yeah, I think Bournemouth have got a steely nature to them. You and I have waxed lyrical about Philip Billing on a number of occasions when he played for Huddersfield. He brings guile and craft, but a lot of quality in there. You know, I don't think Ryan Christie has even kicked on quite yet as what I expected him to be. He will come good. He's quality. Jefferson Lerma, we know, is someone who breaks up the game and distributes very well. You know, they've even got the luxury of putting someone like Ben Pearson on the bench, and I thought Ben Pearson back in September was one of the game changers at Cardiff City Stadium and really took it by the scruff of the neck. So it's a very deep squad. It's a talented squad, and in Scott Parker, they've got a young, bright manager who knows how to get out of this division. But Cardiff City now have their own young, bright manager. We've seen an upturn in fortunes. It's going to be very, very difficult tonight, particularly coming off the back of no football for almost 3 weeks. But I'm looking forward to see how Steve Morrison, who I think is quite a shrewd manager. I think he likes the tactical game. I think he does his analysis. I'd be very interested to see what plans he's put in place for tonight's encounter.
And I think you and I share the opinion, John. I don't want to speak for you, but that everyone is adamant that you need a 20-goal-a-season striker to get out of this division. I think you and I are in agreement that not necessarily the case. However, in this new COVID-affected lower-budget world that we live in the Championship football, it's no surprise, is it, that the three teams at the top of the league have misses Solanke, Mitrovic and Brent Brereton Diaz at their disposal, and it certainly does seem that for whatever the reason and the impact that COVID's had, that if you have that goal scorer, that it makes the world of difference. Well, we do have a player in Cardiff ranks in Kiefer Moore that's only 1 year removed from that 20-goal-a-season campaign. So, you know, signs of life again for Cardiff if you're looking for a bright spot.
Absolutely, Ash. And I think the important part is he's starting to get service again. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still a long way to go on this project for Cardiff City, and it's not as fluent as other teams in the league, namely Bournemouth, but I can see us starting out on a journey under Steve Morrison, and I think we've seen Kiefer Moore get better quality of service and as a result get more chances since Steve Morrison came in. No disrespect to Mick McCarthy, it worked last season. It didn't work this season. Kiefer Moore was increasingly isolated, increasingly frustrated, had to play with his back to goal, fighting off two centre-halves with not a lot of players joining around him. The service into the box, it was normally crosses from deep positions, and it just didn't allow him to show off his goal-scoring exploits. I think now, particularly the way we're utilising Ryan Giles from left wing-back, and kudos to you, Ash, you've been beating that drum since the start of the season, really. I think that there is signs of life that we're starting to bring the best out of Kiefer Moore, and Mark Harris, as you know, has been a little project of mine, championing him. Isaac Davis also was on the bench tonight. You need legs around Kiefer Moore, and I think those two can do it. And don't rule out the man in your picture at the moment, Leandro Bacuna. Yeah, much maligned this season, but back in a position I think that suits him, and I think he's someone who can make those sort of third man runs or break the line and get beyond Kiefer Moore. So you're right, we've done it by committee previously, Cardiff City, when we've got promoted, Hyder Helgeson, Peter Whittingham and the like, but if you do have a talisman, a marksman in this division, it sets you apart. Bournemouth have that. Hopefully Kiefer Moore's getting back to that sort of form as well.
I won't keep you from the pre-match mince pies any longer. Enjoy the game, and to everyone watching at home, John beat me to the punch. Very rude of me. I should have wished you all a very Merry Christmas, and hope that you had a good day, however you made of it. We will be back in a couple of minutes' time for live coverage of this evening's game with the Bluebirds travelling down to Bournemouth. First, let's hear from Marlon Pack.
Marlon, obviously an unusual Christmas period, not what we expected. But the main thing now is that all the boys are back fit and in training and ready to go this week.
Yeah, I think spot on. Bit of a weird period and one that we haven't had at the club in these times. So I think obviously it was inevitable. Eventually it was going to come around and get us. Fortunately, a lot of us had it at the same time. So yeah, we're back to training. Blew the cobwebs off, and yeah, really looking forward to these run of fixtures now.
And exactly, AFC Bournemouth obviously up this week. They're top of the table at the moment, but they have been on not the best run of late. But obviously, it's going to be a tough game down there at the Vitality Stadium. Yeah,
I think brilliant side. Really like the way they play. Got some very talented players, and they've done really well this year. I think they're really good at our pace. So we know, without even talking about Bournemouth, we know how tough the Championship is anyway, but they're definitely the cream of the crop at the minute and top of the league for a reason. So last two games, I think we were kind of unlucky, circumstances. Sheffield United, a game that I thought we were well in and performing really well, and a red card changed the game. And Birmingham was a game that I felt we were on top of, but defensively conceded 2 goals, and it kind of changed the complex of the game. And in the end, we got a good point, but it's still a game that we're disappointed with. So, in terms of our results of late, I think we've been unlucky in terms of the points returned. In regards to the performances, I felt like we probably deserve to be climbing up the table a little bit more. So, as we've said for a long while now, it's down to us now as a collective, as a group, players, staff, everyone. It's a collective effort for us to start climbing the table now. And fixtures come thick and fast, and obviously with the 2 games postponed, it's going to be an even bigger bulk of games now. But we definitely got the quality to withstand that, and like I said, hopefully go on a run. We know these games are going to be tough, but they all are in the Championship, and I think that we should be going in with a bit of confidence ourselves to go and deliver at least a performance, and then the result will take care of that.
Talking about your season personally, then Marlon, you've just missed 1 match in the league this season, and of the other 21 games, you've played the full 90 in 20 of them. So it's fair to say you must be enjoying your football at the moment.
Yeah, it's been great to play so many games, to have that durability, to keep my fitness up. But yeah, I mean, on a personal level now, I want to continue to perform. I want to perform better. I want to demand more from myself. I want to demand enough so I can give to the team. And I've done okay. Like I said, I'll always be my harshest critic, and I have been throughout my career, because I think you've got to be true to yourself. So there's always areas of my game that I can improve on. I still want to be a bit more influential in how we're playing now, and I feel I can be. But yeah, that would be down to me, and that would be down to me working on stuff. So always looking, like I said, always looking to improve, and always looking for my weaknesses and see how I can do things better. So, like I said, going back, it's a collective. So I need to be, as best as I can be as an individual to give enough to this team to go and perform.
Top 5 in association with the Big Yellow Self-Storage Company.
Still alive for Cardiff. Ojo looking for a flicked header. Oilet does really well up against Mepper. Mojo in there again, dispossesses. Oilet, go on, cut back. Yes, Wilson, yes. Bottom corner. And Cardiff are level. And minutes after, he saw a free kick pushed onto the crossbar by Asmir Begovic. Harry Wilson does open his Cardiff City account. Manga! Cardiff have equalised, and it's Bruno Manga from a set piece with a bullet header, and it's his 3rd goal of the season, and in the 61st minute Cardiff City get the goal they deserve.
By Bournemouth, headed wide. Whittingham gets his cross in danger here, and that's a goal for Cardiff City, and it's headed in. by Sean Morrison.
That's the best delivery we've seen from a wide area all day long. Floated in by Whittingham beautifully, enticing for Sean Morrison to get up. He attacks it beautifully.
Here's McNaughton now on the far right touchline, coming forward. A little bit of space for McNaughton to cross. Goes in field to Whittingham. Space for him to shoot. What a goal that is. A little bit of space on the edge of the area. Tiny little drag back. Whittingham curled that over Flahaven into the corner of the net. And Ravel does well to keep that alive. Now here's Whittingham. Needs to find a teammate. Has Joe Rawls on his left foot. Strikes. What a goal, Joe Rawls!
Fantastic goal. It's great closing there. Matt Colony did ever so well. He's nicked the ball up quickly, got a little run, kept possession, and what a finish. What an absolute screamer of goal that is from Joe Rawls, right in the top corner.
They've all been great so far, just for the record. But I've got on with Sparky, to be fair. Mark Harris, good lad. I think Kiefer looks like he's got a bit, to be fair. So I'd say he looks all right. Worst, who would I say worst would be? Probably Will, to be fair. Very just neutral playing. Probably Flinty, I'd say, definitely. It's a rock, isn't he? I'd like to say I'm up there, I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I don't want to blow smoke, but I'd like to think I'm up there. I'd probably say Sean Morrison. I think he's quite like, he seems like he knows what he's doing, do you know what I mean? That type of person. But obviously, like I said, I don't know anyone that well yet. But oh, you know what? I'm gonna go with Nels. You know, I think Nels is funny with like things like that. So, but like you said, it's a tough one to call. Future gaffer. I think there's a couple of them that could do it, to be fair. I think Colo, Sean, Morrison, Flinty, to be fair, I think could do it. Marlon, so I think there's a few of them. I'm going to say Sparks, to be fair. I think he loves himself, yeah. I would probably go for Marlon, I would. I think he's quite an intelligent man. They're all a good bunch, to be fair to them, but I think James Collins, I think. Really good lad. Flinty, easy, absolutely easy. He could live in a £5 million mansion, he still wouldn't be happy. Flinty probably, I'd go with probably. He is funny, some of the things he comes out of. And I don't even think he means to be funny, but he's just funny.
Good evening, welcome to Cardiff City TV. Well, shooting opportunity. Oh, it's brilliant. Morrison, goal! Welcome to the Vitality Stadium here down the South Coast in Bournemouth, between the Bluebirds and Scott Parker's top of the table side being led out there, you can see, by returning captain Lloyd Kelly. a very Merry Christmas to you. We hope you all had a lovely time here on behalf of Cardiff City TV, however you got to spend your day and the intervening days between Christmas Day and now. And it's always a strange time of year, this, isn't it? Never quite sure what day it is. Go on dates alone, but this year, with the cancellation of fixtures up and down the country, festive period punctuated by postponements, it's been even more topsy-turvy than it usually is. Having said that, Cardiff can finally return to the field of play, as you see it in front of you this evening, for the first time in 19 days since that 2-2 draw away at Birmingham City in St Andrews, a fight-back performance. Top of the table, Bournemouth had gone 6 games without a win before their 27th of December victory over Queen's Park Rangers, and that's the team they field this evening. Lloyd Kelly returns to the left-hand side of the central defensive partnership and wears the captain's armband this evening alongside the uber-experienced Gary Cahill. For the Bluebirds, changes as well from that last encounter away at St Andrews. Will Volks and Leandro Bacuna notably both start in the middle of the park, and Mark Harris and Kiefer Moore are paired together as an orthodox front two. There is Kelly, former Bristol City man, part of the Bournemouth defence, and are in fact the two managers, as Steve Morrison and Scott Parker share a fleeting exchange of words prior to kick-off. Braden Anthony's been in the form of his life this season. So is that man left back, Jordan Zamura. It's a youthful, exuberant Bournemouth side, punctuated by a strong experience core. Despite their stuttering form of late, they are top of the table heading into this evening's clash. The Bluebirds, it's still very much a case of looking over one's shoulder. Relegation has been, all season long, a very serious and immediate threat that Cardiff need to thwart, need to nip in the bud as quickly as possible and aim to climb that table. But it's not going to get any easier between now and the other side of that FA Cup game, because in 3 days' time Cardiff travel to the Hawthorns, another stuttering team at the top end of the table in West Bromwich Albion, who've slipped to 4th, but much like the Cherries this evening, still pose an incredible threat at this level. Small, compact but noisy ground as ever here in Bournemouth. We await the cue to get underway. Both teams